Welcome to the May 2016 distribution ceremony for the Piqua Community Foundation. We have a great crowd today, and I thank you for that. This is a day where we think we have a lot of fun because we give away a lot of money. Before we begin, I do have a few introductions. First of all, I'm Steve Staley, and I'm a board member on the Piqua Community Foundation. I'm also the chairman of the distribution committee. And the distribution committee consists of Dr. Mike Tinkler, Beverly Pratt, Jim Oda, and then board members Nancy Johnston, Dan Raymer, and myself. And then on that committee, Karen Wendland, the executive director, sits in an ex officio capacity. And I look over to Karen, and all of you know she is the executive director of the Piqua Community Foundation. If you haven't had the opportunity prior to today to introduce yourself, please do after the meeting. For those of you that know Karen and the work that she does, you also know that she's the heart and soul behind the entire foundation. And certainly during grant distribution time, she has a huge task compiling the applications, getting back in touch with those applicants that may have to have some additional answers to the application. So she does a great job, and for that, the entire foundation are very grateful, me in particular, for the work that she does in both of our distribution cycles. So we are very happy that Karen is on board and has been for quite a while. We also, I notice, have in attendance today two other Piqua Community Foundation board members, and they include Kathy Patton and Tony Wendland, and we thank you for that. I'd be remiss if I didn't pass out or hand out a thank you to Lisa Baker and the staff at the YWCA. They do a great job in offering up this venue for us and having the accommodations set up, so we are appreciative of that and thank Lisa and her staff. Just a little background on the Piqua Community Foundation. It's been in existence now for 23 years, and for 22 of those years, monies have been distributed out of the community fund, the Piqua Community Fund, and we identify that also as the unrestricted fund. And those are the monies that get distributed to local nonprofits and schools in support of their mission and projects. In those 22 years, we have distributed in excess of $920,000 back into our community, and the total asset value of the Community Foundation is just shy of $8.5 million. I point that out because in 23 years of existence, in the lifespan of a community foundation, we are still very much in its infancy and have generated quite a nice corpus of funds to be used to make grants. We also like to point out that in addition to our distribution functions that we have, we also are in the job of raising money to continue to support and grow the Piqua Community Foundation. So during the course of the year, you may be familiar with Cakes for a Cause. That's one of our major fundraisers, and those monies go directly back into the unrestricted fund, as well as an annual giving campaign during the latter part of each year. So if any of you are interested in helping to continue the good works of the Community Foundation, we'll be happy to talk with you after the meeting, or you can get in touch with Karen Wendland at any point in time. The purpose of today's meeting is to recognize the nonprofit organizations receiving grants as well as the schools who are also receiving grant monies. And we applaud you for the work that you do within our community. We, in a small way, believe that the money that we are distributing today will assist in the continuation of your mission to enable the citizens of Piqua and Miami County to continue to enhance our city and also we appreciate the teachers here who have written grants to support projects that continue to educate our students. These projects are truly worthwhile, and I mentioned that they are being distributed to nonprofits and schools. A community foundation must distribute monies to nonprofit organizations. The rest of the afternoon, I'll give you a quick summary. It'll be brief and painless for those of you that will be receiving monies. I will read a description of the grant and the project for which we, the Community Foundation, will be supporting. We'll ask you to come forward. I'll hand you an envelope with your money, and you may be seated. I believe if it's all right, we'll hold our applause until we finish handing out the grants. I think what I'll do ahead of time, because we have another item on the agenda today, is to mention also that within the information that you have in your envelope, it will include a report that you as a grant recipient will be obligated to complete after you finish your project. We need that information to allow us to document that we have supported the mission or the project for which you've applied, but also we use it as a marketing tool to allow us to go out to the public and identify the projects that you endeavor in and the projects that we support. So any pictures, any articles, anything else that can be used in the media would be appreciated. The reports, you must return them within 12 months of the beginning of your project. For school projects, we ask that the report be completed before the end of the school year. Now, recognizing that this is May 11th, the expectation is most of the monies for school projects, I think, are going to be used possibly into the next school year or for purchases. So with that in mind, we will accept some leeway on the timing of those reports. Also, we would encourage, actually Karen would rather me say mandate that any publicity that you receive as a result of these projects and grants include the PCF logo and recognition that this was partially or fully supported by the Piqua Community Foundation. And that information is in your packet, and if you need it to be emailed to you, Karen can do the same. Before the meeting adjourns today, we will ask all of the grant recipients to remain for just a few minutes so that we can get a picture. And I'll remind you of that again before we leave. All right. We're going to begin with the mini grants. The city of Piqua was one of the places visited by the Abraham Lincoln funeral train in 1865 as the body of the assassinated president was transported to Springfield, Illinois. The mini grant proposal being funded today will provide a two-sided historical marker that will highlight a comprehensive history of the Lincoln funeral train as it stopped in the city of Piqua. And the marker will be placed at the actual location where the train stopped alongside the city municipal building. And accepting today from the Miami County Visitors and Convention Bureau is Leanne Stewart. Welcome. The Piqua City Schools believe that our children are our greatest gift, and they will be met at their level, taught to their highest potential, and take a meaningful role sharing in the responsibility of their learning. The students attending Piqua City Schools will benefit from these next two mini grants. The Piqua High School Lego Club allows students to work individually or cooperatively and to exercise creativity and team building. And this mini grant will purchase additional Lego block sets for the participating students, and the grant writer, Paula Schmiesing, is here to receive the grant. The final mini grant will help update library materials at Washington Primary School. Students and teachers will be involved in the selection of new titles to purchase, and accepting the grant monies today are both April Vossler and Bobby Conley. Just Bobby Conley is coming up. All right, we'll move on now to our standard grants. The American Legion Equipment Fund was founded to raise funds to purchase emergency vehicles and equipment for the use of the Piqua Fire Department rescue squads. The grant they received today will provide a forcible entry simulator to allow firefighters to train and improve their ability to open numerous styles of doors on both residential and commercial structures. And accepting the grant today is Bill Hogston. The Bruckner Nature Center provides environmental education opportunities to encourage people of all ages to appreciate, understand, and enjoy the environment and our natural resources. And they receive funding today for the OWL Extraordinaire Outreach Program for third grade students at both Spring Creek and Washington Primary Schools, and this will fund it for the next 2 school years. And Washington Primary's principal, Mindy Gerhardt, is here today to accept the grant on behalf of that program. I have to say, as an aside, that's always one of the grant applications that the committee thoroughly enjoys reading, because there oftentimes are anecdotes that third graders make about exploring owl pellets. Thanks for keeping me straight. Our next grant is being awarded to the City of Piqua Police and Fire Departments. The departments are collaborating on the development of a program to place automatic external defibrillators, as we know them as AEDs, in strategic locations throughout the city. The program should increase citizens' chances of survival in the event of a sudden cardiac arrest. And their grant will provide 2 of these AEDs for the sports complex at Pittsburgh Park. And accepting the grant today is our Chief, Brent Polschneider. The Forest Hill Union Cemetery and Arboretum is jointly owned by the City of Piqua and Washington Township, and provides a final resting place where family and friends may come and visit. And their grant provides funding for 5 additional granite section markers at the cemetery, and accepting today is our cemetery superintendent, Jim Roth. And if any of you haven't visited the cemetery recently, next time you do, pay attention, because they're very attractive granite markers that sit in the corners of each of the sections. Nice job, Jim. Friends of Main Street Piqua is the development arm of Main Street Piqua, Inc. It's an organization dedicated to the revitalization and redevelopment of downtown Piqua. And the grant being made today will allow the purchase of 10 commercial-grade pop-up tents to be used at Main Street Piqua events, including Taste of the Arts, the Farmers Market, Rock Piqua, and more activities. And accepting the grant today is our Executive Director of Main Street, Lorna Swisher. The Miami County CISV, Children's International Summer Village, is part of an independent, non-political, non-profit international volunteer organization that offers peace education and experiential intercultural opportunities for youth. The Miami County chapter is hosting a summer village in Piqua this summer, bringing children from around the world together at the Piqua Junior High School. And their grant will help to cover the rental of the school building for that particular week. Accepting the grant today for the summer's village is Laura Jackson. After that mouthful, you probably realize quickly that I didn't write these, Karen did, and for that I'm very appreciative. The Miami County Children's Services Board provides outreach and supportive services to families and children in order to ensure the rights of all children in the county to be able to grow up in a nurturing and stable environment. Today, they receive a grant to support their kinship program. This program provides activities and newsletters for those who either temporarily or permanently are raising minor relatives in their homes. Nearly 150 minor children are benefiting from the program at the current time, and accepting the grant today for the kinship program is the director, June Cannon. The Piqua Area United Way unites citizens, contributors, and human service organizations in a common effort to improve the quality of life in the Piqua area. And they continually evaluate community needs and raise money to address them. And the grant they received this year from the Piqua Community Foundation will allow for multiple copies of a new campaign video to be produced in time for the 2017 fall campaign. And accepting the grant today on behalf of the United Way is Sina Alberts. The Piqua Baptist Church sponsors the Upward basketball program in Piqua. This program promotes the discovery of Jesus through youth sports and provides a positive environment where kids not only learn the skills of basketball, but also life skills and good character qualities. And their grant will allow them to purchase 40 new basketballs and an electric ball pump. And accepting the award is Carrie McGonigal, who administers the program. Welcome. All right, the next two grants will be awarded to the Piqua City Schools. The Piqua City Schools provide a safe and nurturing environment in which students can achieve academic excellence and prepare for the future. The first grant will provide Piqua High School's business department with 15 new task chairs, replacing chairs that are as much as 20 years old. And here to accept is Dave Larson, the assistant superintendent. So the second grant also provides seating, and this award goes to Spring Creek Primary School. And they're going to purchase hokey stools, which allow students to move while learning. And these stools have been shown to increase alertness and concentration when used by young students and make learning a more natural, whole child process. And the grant writer and teacher is Amy Pratt, and she will be accepting the award today. You knew I wasn't going to get by without a comment on that. We thought, in addition to primary school students, these might be good things to have in a business setting, an office or something. Nevertheless. The Piqua Neighborhood Improvement Corporation coordinates the activities in and among the City of Piqua's 4 active neighborhood associations: North Parks, Shawnee, Southview, and Southwest. And they provide resources to tackle neighborhood-based projects that improve existing community assets. And this grant will fund improvements to the homes of 3 low to moderate income residents who are elderly or infirm. And accepting the grant today is Nikki Reese, the Secretary-Treasurer of Piqua Neighborhood Improvement. The Rehabilitation Center for Neurological Development offers rehabilitative and educational services to children and adults who are suffering from minimal to severe brain injury. And their grant will purchase a sound system for the Nicholas School to allow assemblies and other events without renting a sound system. And both Carla Bertkey and Susan Subinger are accepting today's grant.
Thank you.
The Salvation Army is a Christian organization that reaches out to the community to meet needs without discrimination. They are receiving a grant to provide funding for their summer feeding program, which provides lunches to children Monday through Friday all summer long. And the Piqua Corps ministry assistant, Kirsten Starnes, is accepting today's grant for the summer feeding program. Congratulations. And for those of you that aren't aware of the summer feeding program, I have to tell you that is an amazing effort that they do each summer. And if you want more information, I'm sure Kirsten will help enlighten you and enlist any help she can get. The Troy-Miami County Public Library is taking part in the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, which provides children with the gift of a free book each month mailed to their homes. Over 800 Piqua children are enrolled for the free book program, and the grant being presented today will provide approximately 1,200 books for Piqua children. And Library Executive Director Rachel Miller and Nancy Hargrove, the children's librarian, are here today to receive the grant. That's an interesting program. From birth through 6 years old, 5 years old, if you enroll, your child can receive a book a month from 0 to 5 years old. If you're not enrolled now, or you know someone that should be, contact the Miami County Library. The Upper Valley Career Center is dedicated to providing the highest quality and most technologically advanced educational opportunities for students in a professional, caring environment while networking with the communities they serve. Today's grant will provide an online math resource to help bridge the gap between diverse learners and challenge higher performing students. And accepting the grant today is one of the math teachers who wrote this application, Amanda Helmstetter.
Thank you.
And our last standard grant goes to the Warren Lodge number 24 Free and Accepted Masons. This organization provides support for youth groups, civic groups, and community projects. And the grant they submitted will be funded to provide a bicycle fix-it station to be installed on the bike path behind our municipal government complex. And the station will consist of a repair rack, a manual air pump, and tools that are attached by cable to the station and stored within it. And accepting today is the head trustee, Stu Shear, and the Secretary-Treasurer, Mike O'Donnell of the Warren Lodge. That concludes this portion of today's ceremony. As you can see, we are very proud as a community foundation to support so many unbelievable and worthwhile projects and educational endeavors. And we appreciate your support and welcome you to continue to write applications to receive grants. I'm going to segue now into the next piece of our ceremony today, and this will be involving the Hinch Awards. The Piqua Community Foundation is presenting a new Community Service Award today to 2 outstanding community volunteers. And the awards have been made possible by a new endowed fund in our foundation. The Scott J. Hinch and Margaret W. Hinch Community Service Awards were established by the Hinch family to honor the memory of their parents, who were very active volunteers in Piqua for many, many years. These awards differ from others in our community in 2 ways. First, because honorees are selected based on activities done on behalf of a single organization in one specific calendar year. And second, the groups that nominated the honorees will receive a $1,000 grant in honor of that outstanding volunteer. And making the presentation today is John Hinch, the son of Scott and Margaret Hinch, and one of the founders of this fund, along with his wife Marcia and his sister and brother-in-law, Dr. Linda and Bob Campbell. Please welcome John Hinch.
Anybody know what these are?
I think it'll be okay as long as you don't.
All right, I'll try
you don't jump.
Anyway, hey, don't worry, I won't be too long. Although, see, that's tremendous. 21 grants in 20 minutes, that's pretty good. Can you all hear me? My voice usually carries. People usually say I ought to tone it down, so. I appreciate being here for our family. Steve talked a little bit about the awards, so I won't repeat that, but I do want to spend a couple minutes throughout this presentation to talk a little bit about what my mom and dad did as volunteers, because as I said recently when we announced the winners, communities get better when 501c3s operate in the community. And the only way 501c3s can operate effectively is they have to have volunteers. And so volunteerism really does foot back, in my mind, to the quality of life in a community. And so just a couple things. My dad was born here. My mom, through marriage, came and lived most of their adult life in Piqua. Some of you in this room probably have never heard of my parents. In the early, mid-1990s, they moved to Dorothy Love. They left Piqua, a house on Coel Street, and they made a decision to go to Dorothy Love, and fortunately for them, it was a good decision. My mom died in 1999, just a few years after they'd been there, but my dad just passed in March of 2015, so he had 17 years where he still loved this town and read the newspaper, but he needed to live in Dorothy Love. But as I start to present these 2 awards, I will tell you just a little bit about my parents, because they really did some neat things here. And there's a few of you in the audience I know probably remember my parents, but most of you don't. So, and I'm on behalf of my family, my wife Marcia and my sister Linda and Bob Campbell, her husband, who live in Kansas City. We are excited about these awards, and we are very excited about the 2 winners here in the first year. So if I could have Suzanne and Tom, could you join me up here? You get to look out at the peanut gallery as I say a few things about my mom and dad and a little bit about you. So that's fine, wherever you want, where you're comfortable. We have 2 wonderful winners. Well, let's just start with my mom briefly. My mom, Margaret Hinch, served as a volunteer in many, many Piqua organizations. She was a trustee of the then Flesh Public Library for 43 straight years, and she was secretary for many of those years. She was a leader in the Piqua Girl Scouts, the Miami Valley Girl Scouts, and she was also a life member of the Buckeye Trails Girl Scout Council. She was the first PTA president of Nicklen Avenue School, which now we've said goodbye to, but she was the first PTA president. My sister was ahead of me. And she was also the president of the Wilder Junior High PTA at one point. She was a longtime volunteer for both the YWCA and the Meals on Wheels. I could go on and on, but I'm telling you, my mom was a volunteer. She was strict too. She was a tough nut sometimes, as I found out. So that's a little bit about my mom. And I decided I should have said this earlier. My mother would have insisted that ladies first. So we're going to talk about Suzanne now, and so she's first. Tom, you have to wait. That's always the way it was at my house. Ladies first, not a bad rule, right? Well, let me just tell you briefly about Suzanne. And it's interesting. Steve's already told you a little bit about Suzanne, in fact, that she was one of the major factors involved with that summer feeding program. I'm getting two head shakes of yes. Well, let's just talk even more officially. Between June 8th and August 21st of 2015, I'm going to read a little bit of this because I want to be accurate. Suzanne planned and prepared over 8,400 meals for the Salvation for the program. During these 11 weeks, Monday through Friday, these free nutritious meals were given to children in Piqua up to the age of 18 who without this program would probably go hungry. They'd skip that meal. Can you imagine? I've never had food insecurity in my life, and I can't imagine what that is. 8,400 meals is what this lady took part of. Obviously, there were other people. But now let me tell you a little bit more about her. I found this out because did a little back checking. Actually called her to verify it. 36 years with the Piqua City Schools in the food service area. So that's pretty amazing, isn't it? Now let me tell you one more interesting thing. My mother. I got to get the year, sorry. I want to be straight. In 1942, my mother graduated from the University of Kansas with a dietetic degree, 4-year degree. She went into the Army, ultimately became a captain, and she was assigned to Walter Reed Hospital as part of her stay during World War II as a dietitian. So do you think my mom is happy that Suzanne is getting this award today? So if you'll join me in a round of applause. What a wonderful person. Please stay up here for a few more minutes. And we'll do pictures, I'm assuming, of this. Okay. All right, so wonderful. The first winner. There can only be one, and you're the first. Okay? There can only be one, Tom. Guess what? You're first. All right, well, let's I want to talk before I talk about Tom, because he's done tremendous things as well. I want to talk a little bit about my dad and his volunteer time. How many of you remember Piqua Memorial Hospital? How many of you were born there? Okay. Not a whole lot of us were born there, but a whole bunch of us remember. My dad served on the board of the Piqua Memorial Hospital and for the Upper Valley Medical Center 49 straight years. And he was one of the architects that took 3 years or 4 years to figure out how to put the hospitals together. And that was a very challenging time for those of you that would remember that. And my dad lost friends, lifetime friends over that, because he believed that we needed to go together as those communities. And look at Upper Valley today when you drive by. I think about my dad every day I drive by there, because he fought through a lot of people that said, you can't do this, you shouldn't do this, it won't work. And I think, and everybody can complain about hospitals, right? I was in banking, everybody can complain about a bank someday. But when you drive by there, think about where we'd be if we hadn't made the change, because healthcare has changed. And I think my dad and many of the others that he worked with believed that there had to be change even in the small town. But he did some other things as well. He was a long-time board member and trustee of the then Piqua YMCA, which is now obviously effectively doing a great job as the Miami County YMCA. He was a long-time volunteer for Meals on Wheels. My mom and dad did that side by side for years and years. He was on the board of the Piqua Improvement Corporation. He was on the Edison Community College Nursing Advisory Committee. He was active in Post 184 in the American Legion, particularly Legion Baseball. I was involved with that for 4 years. He was involved with it for 30 years. And quite candidly, Mr. Staley in the back took over when my dad gave up doing some of the things that they needed. My dad was a great guy. Guess what? He was strict too. My mom and dad really got along well. So now I want to talk a little bit about Tom. I just want you to know that these awards honor two great people. I'm biased, but these are two great people too, who have done wonderful things, and they deserve recognition. So Tom, in celebration of Music Warehouse's 20th anniversary, on August 7th and 8th, 2015, Tom delivered a truly outstanding performance at the Hans Pavilion in Fountain Park called I Was There. And this is what's really neat about that. That's good, right? But here's what's really neat. These performances included children from the 3rd grade through the senior year in school. College students came back, and even better, adult alumni from this organization came back to be in this great celebration. I think there were 2 nights, probably packed houses. And this is volunteer work. I'm going to go on and, obviously for those who don't know, Tom's been a longtime teacher at Piqua High School in the Piqua system as a vocal director, or the lead of teaching vocal music. And he's become very well known beyond the area, all over, for the Piqua Show Choir. And then he takes his time and puts it into Music Warehouse, which is a volunteer 501c3 organization, and delivered that. And so, Tom, for the Hinch family is proud of what you do. It's important, and congratulations to you. You all do you please see this plaque in front? If I touch it, it'll be on the floor. I don't want to do that. Also, from now on, this plaque will go into the foundation's office, and it'll be there forever. And each year, we will add names. This is a permanent fund. This will go on long after Marcia and I are gone. It will continue. And so Suzanne and Tom, your name's going to always be at the top of that. And I think that's pretty neat too. So when people come, you're going to be famous. Both of you, you're both famous. You're not going to be a little bit more famous. All right, so congratulations to these two. I also want to mention that the Salvation Army and Music Warehouse will be receiving a $1,000 check for an unrestricted grant. They can do whatever they want with it, and to honor these two fine people who have done great things. So again, one more hand for the two of Okay, the last thing I'd like to do is I have a few thank yous, and I want to again go back to my list so I don't forget. First of all, I also want to thank all of the community organizations who nominated people for this award. We had several nominations for both my mom and dad's awards, and there were some compelling stories that aren't up here tonight. There truly were. There was a committee of 5 people who were not board members, and they were longtime citizens of Piqua who cover this town in terms of experiences and age and time of living here, and they were the ones that selected these 2 people, and it wasn't easy. And so we thank those 501c3s, not-for-profits, for nominating wonderful stories. But these 2 were the winners this year, and there are no losers in something like this. I also want to thank Dave Foster and Bruce Anderson of Tempo Wood Products in Piqua. Dave's a longtime friend of mine. He helped Marcia and I put these awards together, the plaque and these 2 awards. And you know, I really appreciate that, because I think those will mean a lot to these people, but it makes me feel good that when you leave here tonight, you have something concrete that says, I won an important award. And so I want to thank Tempo Wood Products and Dave and Bruce for helping with that. I also need to thank Karen and the Piqua Community Foundation. One of the things that none of you know is that Marcia and I developed this idea, and when we decided we wanted to do it, we wanted to try to get it done for 2015's efforts for a 2016 award today. And there's a lot to do. There's a lot more to do with that. Nominations, forms, how are we going to do it? How's the money going to work? The mechanics of this. Karen Wendland went beyond the call of duty, and the board was very helpful too because they supported it from the get-go. And so I want to thank everybody involved with the Community Foundation, particularly Karen. And finally, Marcia, my wife, we've talked about this and we talked about this, and so, but long before we ever went to Karen, we had a lot of conversations. Then once we started this process, it was a little more complicated than I thought it would be. And so Marcia was there, and she helped me and my sister and her husband turn today into reality. So I want to thank Marcia publicly for her efforts as well. And with that, I'm done, and thank you very much, Steve, and I'll turn it back to you. Thank you.
All right, John, Marcia, and family, what a great new fund in the Piqua Community Foundation. This concludes today's ceremony. I will remind you, I'd like John, Marcia, Tom, and Suzanne to stick around for a picture, and also the other grant recipients, please stick around for a picture. It won't take long. I failed to recognize the grant recipients with an applause, and I'd like to do that now with both the Hinch winners and our grant recipients today. And I'll conclude again with a shout out to Karen Wendland. You've heard her name many times today, and she does a phenomenal job for the Piqua Community Foundation. With that, this meeting is concluded. Have a good evening.